Alright, in this video, I'm going to be showing you everything that I made this week. So this week, I'm just going to be showing you everything that I made using that. So I'm using up what's in my pantry. I'm using up with stuff that's in my freezer. And just kind of using what I got from the store. So I'm going to be showing you everything that I got. Now, breakfast is going to be super simple. Usually lunches are very simple at our house. We'll have macaroni cheese or chicken nuggets for the kids, sandwiches, leftovers. Our breakfasts are usually oatmeal or cereal. Sometimes we have like eggs and toast. It just kind of depends on the day. We don't usually have the same thing every day, but it's usually really simple, but that also helps us save money throughout the week because I'm not making this extravagant meal every single day. Okay, so I'll be showing you basically all the dinners that I'll be making and how we're able to stretch our $75 throughout the whole week for a family of 6. So I hope that you enjoy it. Let's get started. For breakfast this morning, I wanted to make a breakfast casserole, so I'm going to ground up 1 pound of sausage and then set that to the side. And then in a medium bowl, I'm going to add in 2 cups of milk, 1 cup of Biscuit, and then 4 eggs, and then I'm going to give that a really good stir. I did want to note that you definitely do not be like me and use a fork. You definitely want to use a whisk just because you want to make sure that that Biscuit does not get clumpy when you're mixing it together. It can kind of usually be clumpy, so you definitely want to use a whisk for this. And then once that's all mixed together, I'm going to set that to the side. And in my 9x13 pan, I'm going to grab some spray and just lightly grease it. And then I'm going to put my sausage at the very bottom. And then if you have any bacon, you can put some bacon. I think I had some bacon in the fridge, so I just chopped that up and then put that on top of the sausage. But you definitely don't have to, but of course bacon is delicious and adds tons of flavor. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in 3 cups of hash browns. Just, you can use hash browns, some frozen hash browns, or if you want to shred up some potatoes, that's totally fine too. I'm going to just put that on top of my sausage and bacon mixture. And then I'm going to season this. You can just use whatever type of seasonings that you prefer. I'm just going to put on some salt and pepper, but I know that some other seasonings would be really great with this. If you want to do some paprika, you guys know that I love paprika on pretty much everything. But I'm just going to go ahead and just use salt and pepper for this. And then I'm going to take 1 cup of cheddar cheese and just put that right on top of my hash browns. And then after I'm done layering it with some cheese, I'm going to go ahead and put in that Biscuit mixture just right on top of that. And then it'll be ready for the oven. I did put this in the oven at 400 degrees for about 30 minutes. You just want to make sure that that center is nice and cooked through. And then after it's done cooking, I went ahead and put in 1 more cup of cheese just on top of that. You guys know that I love things extra cheesy, so that's what I'm doing here. This was super good if you wanted to put some salsa or any type of, like, maybe some Tabasco sauce if you like things spicy. But we serve this with some fruit on the side as well, and this was a hit in our house. Casseroles are my go-to for breakfast items on Sundays, so that's a really good option if you're kind of in a hurry and you want something delicious. For lunch that day, I'm making some roast, so I have some I don't even know how to say that, gravy mix. I have 6 tablespoons of butter that I'm going to be using. I also have some ranch. I have this chuck pot roast that I'm going to be using. I have some potatoes I just threw in my crock pot. I have some celery because I love adding celery to my roast. It just adds so much flavor. And then I have some carrots and some onions that I'm going to be using. I'm just going to use half an onion just to give it a little bit more of a flavor. So to start us off, I'm going to put the roast at the very bottom of my crock pot, and then I'm going to top it with some potatoes and some carrots. I don't know, we usually do about half a bag of carrots. Most of our family enjoys having carrots in our roast. And then I did cut up some celery and some onions. I just kind of made onion rings and then chopped up the celery and half them. Those are just going to add some flavor. We're not really going to eat those. And then I have 6 tablespoons of butter that I'm going to put on top of that. And then I'm going to put in my spices. So I have my gravy mix I'm going to put on. And then I'm also going to put in some ranch, the seasoning mix on top of that. Those are both going to be about an ounce each. And then I do like to have just a little bit of sauce at the bottom of my crock pot. So I'm going to put in just a little bit of beef broth, probably about half a cup to a cup of broth, just to kind of give it a little bit of juice at the bottom. And that's it. I'm going to put the lid on. I like to cook my roast while it's like I took it out of the freezer and then I put it in there frozen. And so I don't know why I do it that way. I just do. But I cook that all on high for 5.5 hours exactly. And everything turns out very, very tender. So I really like the results of taking it straight out of the freezer and putting it at the bottom of my crock pot. And then we always serve this with some green beans. My husband says that we absolutely have to have macaroni and cheese with it. I don't really usually agree. But I don't know, my family just enjoys having some mac and cheese with this. And as you can kind of tell, like the fat is there, so it's kind of hard for me to cut it with all that fat. But the fat's going to add so much flavor. I don't usually like to cut off any fat on my roast just because it adds such a good tenderness to my roast. But it's very, very tender. It's fork tender. It is so, so good. I also wanted to add that I didn't have any pepperoncinis or else I would have added that to the roast. Okay, so now for day 2, I just had some leftover French toast sticks, and so I paired it with some yogurt and an orange for all the kids. And so that's what they had for breakfast. For lunch for me, I just had a salad. The kids had leftovers that day. They are all giving me thumbs up for their leftovers, which usually they don't typically always do. But, and then for dinner, they had some chicken taquitos that I pulled out of the freezer. And that's what they're having here. And then I just paired my dinner with a salad. And then I had some apples and peanut butter to give some protein to what I was eating for that day. Day 3, I made some coffee cake, and I will leave a link in my description box of the coffee cake that I made. I actually made this from some Biscuits, so everyone really enjoyed having that for breakfast. For lunch, I'm actually going to be making the spaghetti soup. So I will leave a link of the full recipe down in the description box for you guys. I started off by putting a couple tablespoons of oil at the very bottom, and then I'm just putting in some veggies. I have some celery that I cut up, some carrots that I cut up, and then some onion. I think I cut up about half an onion here. That's going to give it quite a bit of flavor. This is a very interesting meal, but I love how many vegetables are in this. It's just basically like a regular spaghetti, but has extra broth, and then it has extra vegetables in it. I'm going to flavor it up with some minced garlic and then some Italian seasoning, some pepper, and some salt. Once everything is nice and tender, all the vegetables are nice and tender, I just went ahead and put it in a bowl and put it off to the side. I'm going to cook up my ground beef and make sure that that is nice and brown and cook through. This ground beef does not produce a lot of grease, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave it in the pot. And then I'm going to add in my vegetables back into the pot. And then I have a can of petite diced tomatoes over here, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in my pot now. And then I also have some spaghetti sauce. I like to use this ragu spaghetti sauce. Usually ragu or prego is one of my favorites. But I'm going to go ahead and add in that spaghetti sauce, and then I'm actually going to fill that jar with water and then put it back into my soup here just to give it more of like a beef brothy flavor to it. And then, like I said earlier, I'm just going to add in my seasonings, going to give it some extra flavor. You guys can use whatever type of seasonings. Usually for soups, I like to add in some bay leaves, so I'm sure that that would be really great in this soup as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give all of that a really good stir. I'm going to put the lid on and just let that simmer while I am making my spaghetti noodles. So you can kind of see the pan over there. I'm just going to wait for it to boil, and then I'm going to put in about 2 to 4 ounces of spaghetti noodles. I really like using the thin spaghetti noodles. I don't really prefer like thicker noodles. So I'm going to kind of let that get to al dente. And then once they're all cooked through, I'm just going to add this to my soup mix. And that is it. It is all done, and surprisingly, this was really good. I really, really enjoyed it. All my kids said that they really enjoyed it, so of course that's always a win in my household. I did want to add that I didn't add all of these noodles. I wasn't sure how much noodles to kind of break into the water. So it says to only put in 2 ounces of noodles. So I'm just kind of eyeing it and seeing how much noodles that I'm wanting to put into this pot. But this looks like a good mixture because I don't want too much noodles, or else it's basically just going to be spaghetti with a little bit of water. But you can totally add in however much noodles that you prefer. That's just what we liked, and this is what it looks like after it's all done. It was super good. You can definitely add in some bell peppers as well when you're adding in your vegetables. I think that would be a really good add as well. For dinner that night, I am making some queso chicken tacos. I'm going to spray the bottom of my pan there, and then I'm going to put in about 2 to 2.5 pounds of chicken breasts. And then I'm going to top that with some taco seasoning. I use about 1 ounce of taco seasoning. And then you can put in whatever type of tomatoes that you want. If you want to put in Rotels, if you just want to put in diced tomatoes, that's totally fine. I found this at Winco, and it's a bigger can, like it's a 15-ounce can of diced tomatoes and green chilies. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in. And yes, I totally make a mess out of myself. And then I have some black beans that I had recently canned that I'm going to go ahead and put at the very bottom here as well. And then on top of everything, I'm going to go ahead and put in 1 smaller can of queso. And I want to tell you guys, this was very, 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 very cheesy. So if you don't want to add in all that cheese, that's completely fine. It was very, very cheesy. So after I had cooked this on low for about 6 hours, I'm going to use my meat masher and just shred up my chicken like so. And then that's it. You can put this in some tortillas. You can put this over rice. I think half my kids wanted it over rice, and the other half wanted it in as a taco. But this is what it looks like, and we had this with a side salad, and a lot of my kids wanted just some cucumbers, so they had it with some cucumbers and a tortilla. What's for breakfast this morning?
Oatmeal, and it's so yummy.
Oatmeal and banana for Bubba.
I don't like
oatmeal and banana for Jojo. You like oatmeal?
Yes, I love it so much.
Day 4, I wanted to grill up a bunch of chicken. That way I could have that with my lunches and with my salads throughout the week. What's for lunch today, bud?
Spaghetti soup.
Spaghetti soup.
Yummy.
That's what the kids are having. 2. My goodness, he's a mess. 3 kids. And then Mama is having a chicken chef salad. Yum, yum.
And Addie's at school. For dinner, I'm making this like vegetable soup. So I'm going to need about 4 potatoes, 3 carrots, and an onion. I'm going to go ahead and dice all that up. And for this meal, I'm actually going to be making all of this in the Instant Pot, but you can definitely make this in a Dutch oven or a big soup pan, however you prefer to make this, or even in a slow cooker. I'm going to need 1 can of tomato paste. I'm just going to put it at the very bottom of my crock pot. Okay, and then I'm going to put in some salt and some pepper. I believe I just put in about half a teaspoon each. And then I'm also going to put in some garlic powder. I'm going to try to make this as flavorful as possible. I'm also going to add in some oregano to give it a little bit more flavor as well. And then I'm going to add in 3 cups of water at the very bottom here so that I can stir it in with that tomato paste. And then I'm also going to have to add in some water at the very end because I just want to make sure that all of my vegetables are going to get nice and covered and submerged while I'm cooking it. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and add in all of my vegetables into this big soup pan. And then once I have all of that added, I'm actually going to start cooking my ground beef because I'm actually going to want some ground beef with this meal. So to my cast iron skillet, I'm going to go ahead and ground up this ground beef until it's nice and brown and cooked through. Once everything is cooked through, I'm going to go ahead and add it into my my Instant Pot. I'm also going to be adding in some petite diced tomatoes. I wasn't sure if I was going to add any tomatoes to this, but I definitely feel like it is going to add a really good flavor to it. And I just like tomatoes with my soups and I don't know, my vegetable soups. I just feel like it's necessary. So I'm going to go ahead and add in a can. And then here I am adding in my ground beef. And I'm going to go ahead and give this a really good stir after all of that is added. And this cast iron skillet is ridiculously heavy. So if you feel like I'm struggling, that's because I am. It is so heavy. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and give this a really good stir. And then I'm going to add in just enough water just so everything is nice and submerged. And then I'm going to put the lid on. I'm going to let this cook on my high pressure for about 35 minutes. And once it's done cooking, it is absolutely perfect. Like those potatoes are nice and tender. Everything is well cooked through and the flavor is absolutely phenomenal. All I could say is adding a bay leaf or 2 bay leaves would give this even more flavor. I think that's the only thing that I would change about this recipe, but this was very good. It is so easy and simple since it's in the Instant Pot. We served this with some homemade bread, and that was it, just the soup and bread. That's all we really needed. If you want to have some crackers with this, that would be awesome too. All right, now we are on day 5. For breakfast the next day, we had some oatmeal with that homemade bread, and I made some toast and some apples, something very, very simple for breakfast. Leftovers. He's having spaghetti leftovers. Yum, yum. Day 6 for breakfast, we just had some burrito bowls, and then I totally forgot to record lunch and dinner, but lunch was just sandwiches, and then dinner was leftovers. Day 7, we ended up having some cereal. I usually just let them have cereal twice a week, once on Sunday nights, and then once like on a Tuesday or something like that morning. And then I actually made some biscuits, and so that's what she's having, biscuits with her cereal. If you're wanting the full recipe, I will leave it linked in the description for these biscuits. For lunch, I made some homemade bread again, and so they're just going to have like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with some vegetables and a banana. So something super, super simple. And then for dinner that night, we had pizza since it was like a Friday night. So Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you found some inspiration for meals this week, and I hope I gave you guys some inspiration on just cheap meals, frugal meals that can, make real quick, get you by throughout the day or throughout the week. So I'm so glad that you guys stayed to the end. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Give me a like if you enjoy this kind of content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.